with. That's an angel. Where is she?
She's back there somewhere.
That's the angel. That came along. He was a wonderful child, but he had a mind of his own. One funny story, not so funny.
That was my line,
He left me a note. I don't know how old he was.
but I could write.
Well, Mom, I don't know where he got the money, if it was my money or his, that's not important. I went to Florida with George Gerson and his mother, and I'll be back in a week. I'll never forget that. I'm Jack Gerson. I don't know if he remembers that.
Of course not.
Another thing he did was just hysterical. I have a story about him. I should write a book. He and Jack Gerson lined up
Joey.
a bunch of chairs across the street. Cut off the traffic to that. We don't curse. Can you imagine that?
I really don't remember that.
But you don't
Another
tonight.
time, a woman calls me
Of course not.
and she says, I'm from the, what's that club you belong to when you get older?
ARP.
What? What?
ARP.
Not that old. A woman calls me and she says, as part of the club project, Howie is painting her garage.
Oh, that was the fraternity.
What?
I was pledging fraternity.
Yeah. Howard's painting her garage. I says, well, that's nice. So she says, it's nice, but I don't like the way he's painting it. I said, send him home if you don't like it. What do you want me to do? That's the life I've had. The other two were angels.
No, it was easy with Howard around.
It was the easiest. And for Larry, they were all the mothers. My sister lived across the street. Howard and Marcy, if he's got long arms, it's because they pulled him from here to there. They dressed him up, they fed him, they washed him, they played with him. He was like a child I never had. And my mother lived with me. All I'm grateful is that I had the life I had. My husband died too early. And I'm lucky I'm a strong woman. That's all I could say. Since that hardship of he dying, I could never cry again. Tears, when I went to the doctor, he asked me if I cried. I said, no, I'm all cried out. That's it, no more crying. And how grateful I am to her. I'll never be able to tell you. She and I are both not easy to get along with. Doug is an angel. I say sometimes I feel sorry for him.
And she also said this, if you ever get divorced, I'm living with Doug.
I should know that and he should know that. He's getting me.
What does Doug's have to say?
That's not important.
I can never express. You know, I'm a very independent person. I don't
That's one
like
word
when
you could use.
anybody does something for me. I don't like when anybody has pity on me. I'm grateful for what I have. I never had a lot. I never had little. We just got along. We made the little envelopes and the $10 for rent went there. The $10 difference went there. the $10 for Lori's, whatever he needed. This $10 was, never had any money. That was if we needed something. But we got along. My husband was wonderful to me. Just wonderful. I hope that you all are fortunate. That's the key of life. And I needed a good husband.
She certainly
Many times
did.
Marcy asked me, why don't you get out, go out and this and that. And I said, I'm lucky I had one, let alone to get two, you know? But grateful and ever thankful I had all through life was the rent was paid, we had food. If we need anything more, we had it. And if I had life to live over again, I wouldn't mind living it again. Thank you so much. I wish I could dance and sing, but I can't.
You never could sing.
Can
No.
I ask you for one more story? Graham, can you give us, since you're on a roll with the Uncle Howard stories,
Hey,
can you give us one of Papa's Uncle Howie stories?
Well, sorry to say, I was the caretaker.
Okay.
I had to push him into disciplining Howard. He's a boy. He was running away from home. He had, Maurice said, go get packed. Never laid a hand on any one of our children.
he did take
Never.
he did take a swing at me once for your benefit.
Well,
I said he did take a swing at me once for your
well,
benefit.
you must have been horrible.
No, I called you a dirty name,
Oh,
and he intentionally missed.
I bet you must have hurt him. Because he was the kindest man you ever saw.
I got a good Papa story. One that sticks in my, I was young. I was 9 when he left us. And when we lived in Chicago Heights before we moved to Homewood, our school was right across the street from where we lived. I was in first grade. I was only in first grade for half of there until we moved. But Graham was working or volunteering, and Mom was working at that Montessori school, Ma, you remember?
She's talking.
She's not listening. And I wasn't feeling well, and Papa would have to come and get me, and it was cold, it was winter time, and he would have to wear his mask out in the cold. And I got in the car with him, and he'd look at me and go, "Want to go for ice cream?" Yeah. Because there was a Baskin Robbins right in Glenwood where they used to live.
We went to Mitchell's.
No, he would take me back to Robbins. And then he'd look at me, we'd get back in the car, and he looks at me, he says, "Jennifer, you cannot tell your grandmother or your mother because then we can't do this anymore." And I'd say, "Okay." And another one, there was a restaurant.
Did he have ice cream too?
Uh-huh.
And that's why he
Of
said
course.
don't tell.
And then we used to always go to a restaurant called Country House. Always. Graham and Papa would always take me because I was a good girl at the table, and the waitress would know exactly roast sirloin of beef with a baked potato. I mean, she would know my, and then we brought him.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. And he would get so much, my Papa, who was just so mellow, and Craig would have to touch the salt shaker. And he'd have to play with this, and he'd bounce,
Then
and
he'd
the
go on the
table,
floor.
and he'd be under the table, and Papa would use it. The two of them would be like, "Craig, sit up, stop playing, just sit still, we're not going to bring you anymore." And then there was me. There was me just sitting there going, yeah.
So how come
No.
Stacy wasn't invited?
I was there.
I just remember him and touching everything.
This is the one story that I will tell over and over again, and it's about Uncle Larry's Volkswagen. It was green. Maybe it had a hole in the floor, I don't, it had a hole in the floor. So Papa was driving it, it was you and me, I'm not sure about you, but we got Shamrock Shakes at McDonald's. You wanna get Shamrock? Do not spill them in the car, is what he said, do not. He like, I don't know if it was like, he let off the clutch, they were like this, shake went everywhere, and it was him that caused it.
Every time Dad worked late on Sunday, he would come home, and all day I threatened them. If they didn't behave, we weren't going to Mitchell's. Dead of winter, everything. We went to Mitchell's. They would sit in the back of the car after we had Mitchell's, and their teeth would be chattering. But they were so thrilled they went to Mitchell's, they didn't care. We had a fun life. Fun life. Of course, there were trials and tribulations. Kids, that comes in everybody's life. But you have to comfort them. Because with every good, there comes a bad. With every bad, there comes a good. And just don't want too much. If you want too much, you don't get nothing. I always like to live under what I could. So I could make our needs. Did the best you can, you had Jews. And I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for what I have now. Even though we don't always agree. But we stay friends. And better care I could never have. The grandchild. I want you all to be grateful to her too. Because I'm your responsibility.
Larry, she's talking to you.
It's not talking to him.
I don't know where the chips would fall, but they would fall. And
Wasn't there a movie like Homeless in
she's
Seattle?
great to me. She's great to me. We don't always agree, don't do that. But we forget the next minute if it really happened. 9 times out of 10, I'm right.
Yeah, right.
You know that. I think we're made of the same cloth. And I feel sorry that she has me. But I hope I don't make her life too miserable. Thank you, Stacy. And God, wherever you are. Oh,
He's videoing all this so he can play it
he
back
takes care
tomorrow.
of me like Stacy.
No, not as good.
Not
Not as good.
well,
That's
there
what
are
he said.
certain personal
Say, he
things
doesn't
that
do
she
things
and
like-
I share
It's fair.
that he doesn't share yet. But if I call Stacy, I get Doug a lot of times. Just as good. And then there's little Zach who's following their footsteps. We're sitting on the floor and sitting next to me serious, like, how can be a China puts on that thing? And I'm sitting on the floor, damn, I don't know what the hell we're doing. And he says, it's taking Marcy such a long. I think I'll call her again. Oh, look at her blushing. And he's such a good boy. He tells me wherever he goes. He don't tell me, I don't stay with him. He don't stay with me anymore. I don't want him to be my responsibility. So he knows he's on thin ice, because when I say something, I usually mean it. I hope I keep my marbles long enough. Howie?
You might need to get out of her sight line.
Are you sure you still have them all?
Thank you for making me so strong.
Finally, she's grateful.
I haven't heard about the time he was in the emergency room, he burned his arm, his finger. He used to call me I used to get phone messages as soon as they said Howie. I said, yeah.
Don't forget all the curfew violations.
He called me one time, no, he was home. And I'm washing clothes and I got a hand washer. Comes down the basement. He says, little boy, Mom, I was doing somersaults and I hurt my arm. I said, for goodness sake, go up and sit down on the couch. He continued washing. He broke his arm, you know.
You know, I just thought of a story that everybody has to know.
Okay.
So this little house we grew up in had a standpipe. A standpipe, for those of you who have no idea what it is, was a pipe that stood about 2 or 3 feet off the ground around the drain tile. So that when the water system, this was in the city of Chicago, backed up, hopefully it wouldn't back up to go over the standpipe and stop the flooding. Well, you know, we would get floods, you know, and we'd have this little window out there, and we'd have, our furnace was there, and it was on blocks and all this. Well, we had a major flood one time. And the basement was my domain. You know, there was the working area, and then it was built out, and the tile floor and shelves, and I had the greatest baseball card collection any kid ever owned. Do you know what my mother did when we had the flood? She took all the shelves and pushed them into the water for the insurance claim. For my baseball cards! My whole
That's the way-
baseball cards collection.
That's the way it was. That was one of my happier moments. I'm grateful for the stories, not grateful for the experience.
Do you remember Dad sitting there bailing the water out? He'd have his pants, they didn't have shorts in those days. He'd roll his pants up, they'd open up the window and have a bucket, and he'd go like this for hours at a time.
Howard, how high, what step did it get to? What was the highest step?
Oh,
Do you
know, I
remember?
don't remember, but I bet you
It was the fifth step.
easily 4th or 5th
Fifth
step.
step, right before
Hey,
the
Graham.
landing. That's how high
What
the
was
water
the
was
name
in the
you used to
basement.
call them to get them in the house?
Mahoward or?
Malauer.
Malauer or something like that. That took them all in.
She would yell that to get them in so she wouldn't have to say Marcy, Howard, and Larry. Malauer, and they know it come in.
Yeah.
She did.
But one thing
Notice
I'd
she only
say,
needed to say M
if
for
they had
Marcy,
to
L
come
for
home,
Larry, but
they
you had
did.
to almost
Howard.
yeah. I don't know if any other family had as much fun as I did,
So
but it worked out.
how did I pronounce
My
Marcy's
mother
name
stayed
when I
with
was
me
little?
for 25 years. I tried to make her life good, but it wasn't. We didn't get along.
Sorry, yeah.
And my mother would do anything for me. But you see, she was the mother. She was foreign. She didn't realize that when you marry, the husband comes first. So I had to deal with that. She was always the mother and I was the child. I don't make a very good child. So we fought all the time. But as far as being good to my children, she was wonderful. Every time I came home from work, oh, they were fine, they were marvelous. I knew some of them were good.
Duh.
And Larry would play baseball in front. And she, oh no, Howard. She'd come out with a dime or something and she asked him to go to the, no, it was Larry, to go to the corner delicatessen and get her a bread. So he said, he told her 10 reasons why she didn't need the bread. She went in the house with the dime. But Howard was good in that respect. He always went for the bread. That was the only good thing he did. I don't know what kind of husband he makes to you, but I'm grateful for you.
We were just discussing, it's been 42 years, so I guess he's okay.
I can't hear you.
She says,
It's been 42 years, so I guess he's okay.
What is
All
that?
right.
And you can fool some of the people some of the time.
Mom, why don't you tell a little bit about your father's tailor shop and the people that came in? And
Tired of hearing.
no, they haven't. There's another whole generation here that has never heard that, and it's always something that's so special to hear.
Graham,
You
you're a
were the
little
you were the youngest.
I was the youngest.
You were the baby.
The baby.
Okay, so tell them a little bit about your father.
And we lived in 4 rooms in back of the store. My brother and my sisters slept in one bedroom, and I slept with my mother and father. That was the arrangement. We used to play ball in the kitchen, throw it up against the wall, and the spice it would jiggle like that. But we lived in back at the store. My father was a tailor and he had a press machine. So everybody wanted to carry the water because you got 2 cents or a nickel. And I was the youngest. So I got to carry the water. And fill up the press machine and pump it down. And I saved up money in order to get a box of cookies. I would go to the store and buy them and walk around outside to eat the cookies because my brother and my sisters would take them away. I never came home with a box of cookies. And my father was a smart man. My mother I didn't get along with as well as I did my father. And if I came to him with a story, you know, that Mom won't let me do this, and she said this, and she said that, and I had a story like that, he'd look at me, he had big brown eyes, and he'd say to me, well, I guess you got it. What Mom says you got to do. That's not the story I wanted to hear. He never lifted a hand to us kids. All he had to do was look at us with his big brown eyes. We were as mellow as could be. We weren't rich. I think we were on the poor side. We lived with an aunt for a while. And I don't have too much memories of those times because I knew they existed. But the hardship for me wasn't as bad as it was for the older people. And my father didn't drive. After we had an accident, he could never drive again. He came out with a crushed chest. My mother had stitches in her head. My sister Dora had, I don't know, but she had stitches somewhere. My cousin Davy was in the car. He had 8 stitches in his rear end. And I was sitting on his lap. I flew out of the car. I hit a tree. And I had a broken nose. And I could remember I had strange black marks all over my hand. And they kept me in the hospital. They all went home. I didn't know where I was. They had a bed. The next day or a couple of days later, they wouldn't let me out of the hospital. And everybody was banged up. They couldn't come and see me. So my father got one of his friends,
Gangster
to
buddies.
come to the hospital. And he took me home, took off my nightgown, and took me home in the itchiest blanket you ever saw. I remember going to downstairs with him. And that was fine.
Graham,
And
go ahead.
when I went to kindergarten, it was time to pass the 1st grade. And the teacher always asked you how old you are. So I told her I was 5 in school and 4 at home. because that was my age. My father had enrolled me in school because I was such a pest and told them I was 5 years old. So I was 5 at school and 4 at home.
You were a pest?
Yeah.
Where do you think you got it from?
What?
Where do you think you got it from? You said you were a pest.
Grandma.
Oh, not like that. I didn't ruin a mother's life.
Well, she's not here to tell her side of the story.
If I was a church-going lady, I would spend days there. But he was as cute as a button.
We're back to me.
Right back to
When we
you.
went to our uncle in Indiana, one uncle we went to visit, held his hand the whole time we
He
were
owned
in
a
his
candy
house.
store. I mean, come on.
And he didn't let him loose for 1 second. Of course, I don't blame him.
Yeah, I mean,
I just went along with it.
When you got your tonsils.
Yeah.
Oh, my sister Lil, who was 4 years older than me, we went to take our tonsils out. Well, she didn't need hers, but I needed mine. My mother sent her to take her tonsils out so she should watch me. Kid had her tonsils out. And I could remember when we won an award for children. And all of a sudden I hear somebody calling my name. I didn't know if I was dreaming. It's her. She's wandering the floor looking for me. So she got in bed with me. You know, I have stories too, and I was a big pest.
Tell them the story about how your parents or your sisters and brother dressed you up and pushed you out into the shop.
My brothers and sisters used to dress me up. And when there was company in the customers in the tailor shop, they used to open the door, push me out. And of course, that was a no-no for my father. No kids are invited to are in the store unless they're asked to come. And I had some pretty crazy outfits, I could assure you. And the one thing my father let me do was play with the buttons if I behaved myself. And they were set in the orders, you know, and I fixed them up. Yeah. Those are nice days, even though they were poorer days than when I got older, you know. I didn't realize I was poor.
Did you used to dance on the counters? Mom, did you dance on the
Yeah, I used to
counters?
stand on the counter and dance. And I don't know how to dance. And my father used to look at me and he couldn't act up in front of the customer. And I was up, but not like that.
pretty bad for your times.
Well, it was fun and time, you know.
What about the,
Yeah, not a good one.
your father's friends that were the gangsters?
I'll get it.
Gangsters for boyfriends when I was young. They used to keep their clothes in the back and come in and change clothes and leave the old ones and walk out. They bought me dolls. They thought I was the cutest thing.
Gangsters.
And I used to act up for them
They
too.
lived on Taylor Street.
And you should be sorry you missed
Did,
What did they give your mom one time? You told me that. What
them.
did,
They gave my mother diamond rings.
right on their pocket.
Right out of their pocket. Which one do you want? If you want two, take two. Those were
No, he
boyfriends.
wasn't in the mob.
And-
He was friends with people that were.
and do you remember some of the names of the,
Cherry Nose. I don't remember too many. Blackie.
How old were you?
And my father didn't know how to read or write, but he knew all the clothes, which was theirs, and which was yours, and which was yours. He gave out tickets, but he never used them. When you came in, he started to get your clothes ready, and he kept all their clothes. But when the neighborhood started changing, I couldn't tell the difference between the black. Yeah, they all look
Graham,
And the Italians said the same thing about the Jews.
I know. They all look alike. And we were raised in a neighborhood that was
Italian.
mixed, but not Jewish. It was
Italian.
Italian or Gentile.
It was by, isn't it around the Como Inn on Taylor
Yeah.
Yeah,
Street?
it was definitely
Raised
Italian.
around the Como Inn. We lived a block from there. We used to look in the restaurant with our nose against the window. We used to go to show for all day Saturday. They gave dishes. And my sisters and brothers hated me because they had to take me.
But it was, think of the time, it was, you know, late 20s into the 30s.
Oh, yeah,
When
it was definitely
Depression, you know,
component.
Yeah, we all went to show for a nickel. And
Prohibition.
it was like, don't come back. It's dark outside.
Introduction to the auto.
Yeah. And we were raised in a Gentile neighborhood, and the kids used to pick on me. Of course, I was a gal. And they would call me Little Jew. I'd go in the house crying to my father, and he'd say, well, you are Jewish. And he said, you're in here crying to me, so you are a baby. Go back downstairs, outside, tell them you're Jewish, you're happy to be a Jew, and you don't care if you are a Jewish baby. So they looked at me and said, okay, let's play. Now, you know, I grew up with that. I don't care what you say to me. If in my heart I believe it's true, I care. And if I don't feel it's true, well, that's your opinion. I must say about Howard, I have to give him a good hand. God, his wife will take him home and beat him. He wasn't.
I'm starting to feel so sorry for you, man.
What do you feel sorry for him for?
Yay!
Howard, and he's just like,
He was a very good boy. Sometimes. But he had a job. When he got older, he got jobs. They always loved him. They always loved him. And when it was time for him to leave, they all were sad. That's the one good quality I have to say about him.
just that one.
I make everybody sad.
And I guess grew up and meeting Joan knocked a few other senses in his head. Came home from the Navy and
Maybe 17 days.
and brought a cat for Larry that he slept in. The kids always had a good relationship. And Marcy was little and she was older than him. She used to not be an angel when it came to Howie. I used to say to her, Marcy, stay away from him. He's younger than you, but he's tougher than you. Beat the hell out of him. Stay away from him. And they played together. But he always was king of the roost. He played the way she wanted. They were good. They were good.
So,
Have we
tell
heard he has a
everyone what
top
you thought
dog?
of.
What?
I said, have we heard he has a top dog?
I don't hear you.
I said, every pack has a top dog.
Yeah. Yeah, but you turned out excellent. I was expecting a garbage collection, which if he was honest, I wanted him to be honest, was okay. But he should only reach that point. So, I'm real grateful to for what I have, but I don't have anything. But I have a few soft spots. Of course, they were my husband. And they are my kids. Don't pick on my kids. I can pick on them as much as I want. But don't pick on them. You get nowhere with me. There isn't anything that I value more than my three faces.
Speaking of that, did I make this up or did you really do this? She,
What's he saying, Larry?
He's babbling, he's gathering his
Talk to
thoughts.
yourself already?
Yeah.
what did you say?
What'd you say?
I said, did I make this up or did you really do this? You had pictures of your 3 children on the wall. Did you turn them upside down when you were mad at them?
They were mad at, I was mad at my parents. That was my way of
I did not make that up. That's good to know.
You cleared that issue up.
Okay, I could go home now.
My husband was the more lenient with them. But thank God they had me to keep them straight.
Let's take a vote. What do you think? Yeah,
What's that?
no.
Oh, yeah.
No. Were we lucky to have her? Is it?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you were lucky to have me.
Fucking that boat. Fucking that boat.
You know, I had my father's eyes. So I just looked at them and chased him around the kitchen with the refrigerator. And Howard used to get washed up to come to the dinner table. The palms were clean. The outside was dirty, the nose was dirty. I say, Howard, why didn't you wash? Oh, I did. He's as dirty as could be.
I did.
Yeah. And when I used to come in from outside, I'd say,
Still
the
does.
doorway was near the stairs going up. Howard, please go break up the stairs or I'll beat the hell out of you. That was my favorite thing.
Clearly was.
Yeah.
All right, one last question. I know you're tired, but tell everyone what you told me about my mom when she was born.
It's ugly. It was ugly.
What did I look like, Mom?
Oh, she looked like my husband was 100 years old. And she was unfortunate.
Was she bald?
6th child. She got the whooping cough when she was 5 weeks old. I was a young mother. What the hell do I do with this? And the doctor had an office across the yard, the driveway leading to Independence Boulevard. And she turns blue one day. She's only 5 weeks old. So we called him and she came running across the driveway. They called the fire department. And he knew she had whooping cough, but he says if nobody finds out, you're going to keep her at home. So of course when the fire department came, there was no keeping it at home. So 5 weeks old, she trotted to the contagious disease to hospital. And when I had to go on the streetcar, my husband had to work. When I went to see her, they have rooms, they have a cubicle, a corridor like, and more rooms. So if you walked down the corridor, you never got to walk in the baby's room. And a lot of times after coming on 2, 3 streetcars to help, I'd get there and the nurse would pick her up. And and a lot of times I came there, she would go like this. I couldn't see. Didn't know if she would live or die. And she came home, she was ugly.
You were still ugly.
Boy, and she was ugly. If friends came to my book, I used to say she's sleeping. But as she grew older, she bloomed like a beautiful child, like a flower. My husband used to run around the house with her, and she had her curls, which if she didn't let me make, I'd beat the hell out of her. And he'd say, my pretty girl. Those are the nice things to remember. I'm full of stories I could.
Yeah.
And Larry was a wonderful child. He had all those mothers. I never saw him. He was good. I don't know if it was Howard or Larry at the baseball field, We were playing Little League. Howard was a good player. Howard was an excellent player. Kids would come home from the game on the bicycles and tell me what a marvelous home run that he hit. And all the bases were running. It must have been Larry, because he was a player. Somebody came home and told me that Larry caught an odd ball. He stuck his hand out, and there it was.
They say Jordy Sachs is no hitter.
But it was a nice life. I'm tired. That's enough.
Me too.
Yeah,